The holidays are coming.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing about the holidays is always giving. You're giving of yourself. So today I thought I want to talk to you and the audience about pro bono giving and what it means in a service industry like our own.
Okay.
So to jump in,
Like what it means, like when to do it, when not to do it, or
well, I think when to do it, when not to do it. How do you know?
yeah,
There's no rule to that.
No, there
right?
is none.
So I just thought maybe we could talk about like what do we do?
Yeah.
Because we give not a lot of content away. No, I mean, okay, so when we work on a project, there's always going to be scope drift in any
Sure.
direction, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes there's budget there and sometimes there isn't budget there
Okay.
to make something happen. You know, we've been in so many situations where we're there to do something,
Yep.
but then the client wants something else, which requires a different set of tools, a different set of team.
Sure.
Maybe it takes a certain process in post-production.
Sure.
You know, maybe you got to brush out logos, or you have to put in artificial lighting to make the shot you want. And the budget isn't always there, especially when you work with a lot of organizations like we do, you know, in the nonprofit realm, who, you know, they're operating on fixed budgets that are set at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
They know they need to create this content, X, Y, and Z, right? So,
Right. And they got to make sure that they have enough money to obviously do the good that they're doing.
we're right, exactly. I mean, they exist for their mission.
Right.
And they...
First and foremost.
Right. And they look to us to help them expand that mission through media communications. I mean, through video communications and such. And so, you know, we find ourselves in conversations all the time about, yeah, you want to do this. Do you have the budget for this? And usually, always the answer is, well, no. So then that always comes back.
Or it's trimmer, or, you know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so then that always comes back to who are you as an organization and who are you as a company. And, you know, to be honest, that took us a really long time to figure out.
Yeah. But stewardship was always at the core of the company. I mean, when we first started this thing, and like the first iteration of our bylaws, like stewardship was one of our core values.
Yeah, before we ever formed core values.
Before we even
knew what core values was, or the necessity of defining that. And I think that's part of the reasons why I want to talk about this is because that planning ahead of time will define what it is you want to do, right?
Yeah.
We know that people in our industry who they want to make as much money doing this as they possibly can. Mm-hmm. And good on them. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with wanting to make this an awesome living.
Right.
And on the other side, we know people who they'll do anything just to create content. Mm-hmm. And that is very noble, but at times we've also seen where that puts them in really dire straits financially.
Well, and we've seen the ramifications of it on the industry.
But even not I know what you're saying. Like, like, what does that do as far as the livable wages for the people working in the industry when people are just giving stuff away all the time? Mm-hmm. I get that. Like, I think it's up to people to define their worth and know what their worth is. And sometimes people find their value in simply saying, I don't care if I make any money on this. I want to help these people out. We know some people who do that with reckless abandon, where they're just like, I'm going to help as many people as I can creating video content and visual content.
Yeah.
And I don't care where it gets me. I don't care about the money. I just want to help, right?
Yeah, and I mean, and I like you said, I think that can be a very noble cause.
Sure, you know? And it is noble, but I also think it can have financial ramifications. And sadly, those pure-hearted people with those noble causes and callings, they find themselves a lot of times, in my opinion, well, we see it. It's not even they find themselves, or it's not even hyperbole. They do eventually disappear.
Yeah.
Because they find out, I can't continue this way.
You just can't continue.
I can't continue.
Can't pay your bills.
So it's about, well, how do you find that balance, right? How do you find the balance of helping others,
right,
doing what you're doing, and then also keeping your doors open so you can continue to help others down the road. And one of the things that I think we've gotten really good at, well, first and foremost, we have defined our core values in our company. I think that was very important. And so now when these opportunities arise that ask of us to give, we turn back to who we are as a company and as an organization. We say, hey, what do we want to do?
Yeah.
Does this fit our mission?
Yeah.
Right. Our mission's to help people create stunning content every day.
Right.
In that, we want to be good stewards. In that, we know we were created to create.
Right.
Right. We want people to use our talents and gifts that were given to us to succeed. So when it comes down to how noble or pure at heart do we want to be, I think a lot of times we find ourselves discussing, well, what is the end cause here?
Yeah, I mean, and usually it's pretty easy to decipher
right.
something you want to jump onto.
Right.
I mean, somebody's asking you, hey, I'm doing this nonprofit, I'm starting this mission, and I need some content. I really just need some help on the starting stage or middle stage or whatever they are. Versus, hey, what's up? I got a startup. I have, 500,000 venture capital up front.
Right.
I can't pay you for your work, but I would like to get some content because I'm seeking to use it to grow a multi-billion-dollar business.
Well, and I think that's one of the core of what I want to have a conversation of, is like a real talk about how do you weed out the noble versus the abusive. Because I think a lot of times we've seen it.
Yeah,
we have gone over the last 5 years running our business. We know when we're getting played.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's happened, and it sucks.
And we know we are getting played, and we still do it.
Well, yeah.
So that is, and that's what I want to talk about, is like sharing that little level of knowledge to people to say, look, you shouldn't be cynical all the time. But you do need a certain level of cynicism to discern if what you're about to do for this person for free is really of noble cause.
Yeah, right. Because I mean, there is I think there's a difference between somebody, between it feeling like the right thing to do versus you just trying to like get forward with something.
Well, I mean, but even that, for example, you're just starting out.
Yeah.
Like we did.
Yeah.
You don't have anything really on your demo reel outside of maybe stuff you created in film school, or maybe you and your friends made a video. You really don't have anything to get started.
Right,
and someone does come to you and gives you an opportunity for you to demonstrate your skill sets.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't have a budget. They probably do. If you don't say yes, they're probably going to go to someone who will say yes that they know they have to pay.
Yeah.
But they're going to ask you first. And they're going to frame it in that context of, well, you need experience, and this could be a really great tool for you to build experience with.
Mm-hmm.
That's still valuable to you.
It is, you're right.
Because you now can help them create a piece of content that you can put on your demo reel.
Right.
That should lead to new work. But then the question comes, what after that project?
Yeah, and I think that's where I was kind of going with it, of like the abusive versus the noble, is that like it seems like it's a pervasive thought that gets thrown around a lot in film school. Like, just do what it takes. Do what it takes. Free for life.
Just get the experience. Get the experience. Get the experience.
When is it like free for experience, and when is it you genuinely giving?
And I think that comes down to that question of the person being able to define their value first. And that's why having a set of codes, your core value is so important, or your core values is so important up front, because without those, you don't know.
Yeah.
Without those, and we did this. I operated this way when I was freelancing. You and I operated this way early in our business. When we didn't know what was of value to us or not, we were there were many times when we have felt like we have been taken advantage. Now, not every pro bono opportunity was negative. In fact, we're working on some stuff right now that's pro bono.
Yeah.
That is extremely valuable to us.
Absolutely. We believed in what the work that the work that we're doing with these people. We believed in that, and we knew the situation, so we were like, that's fine. Like, we want to help you. This is a great cause.
Right.
Versus, and I've run into it where, you get some dude on Craigslist like, oh, it's going to be great.
I have a great one. I have a great story.
All this, there's going to be actors and all this stuff. It's going to be a great way for you to experience. It's like, yo, I can't pay my bills and experience, bro.
When I was starting out as a sound mixer here in Grand Rapids, a couple months into the game, and my rate was dirt cheap. Like, dirt cheap. And I was working with some other production companies just to get that experience. They were still paying me, mind you, and that was awesome. But this one person, they put posts out there. So I contact them. Hey, so you need a sound mixer. Just so you know, I'm new. I have really good equipment. I'm learning. I'm getting better. Everything's, what's the project about? Oh, yeah, it's with some doctors. We're going to shoot some stuff with them. It's great promotional material.
Yeah.
What's your rate? I tell them my rate. Okay, that's great. Awesome. This is the time we're shooting. Cool. I get there early. He shows up 40 minutes late.
Oh, my gosh.
We do the shoot.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and the client's actually talking to me like, so are we ready to get started? I'm like,
I have no idea.
I'm just here to do sound, man. Writing was on the wall, but I was so green and new that I couldn't tell what was going on. I should have just walked out. I should have been like, all right, see you later.
This is a joke.
Did the work. The guy contacts me. Like I was going to, we agreed that I'll just wirelessly transfer the files to him. The shoot was on a Saturday. I was like, I'll send them to you on Monday.
Sure.
He calls me the middle of the day Sunday. Hey, man, where are my files? And I'm like, we said I would send them on Monday. I told you that's what I was going to do. He's like, no, I need those now. And I was like, okay.
That happened to you?
Yeah.
How have I never heard the story?
So then I get into the car. He lives, 40 minutes away from me. And I drive the files to him because he couldn't wait 10 minutes for me to upload them to a file transfer
So
system.
He waited 45 minutes for you to get there personally?
He was like, I need them here now. And I'm like, all right, man, well, I'll bring you the files and
How old were you?
I'll submit the invoice. I mean, this was post-film school.
Oh, okay.
So I was a couple months after graduation.
Oh, okay.
I think it was like the spring after we graduated. So it was probably 6 months or so. So I go to his house. I deliver him the files personally. I drop them off. Never pays me. Ghosts. Contact him, and it was through a contact through our film school who got me the gig. I remember.
That sucks.
It was a Craigslist posting. He sent me the posting, but then he also gave the guy my name because the guy contacted our school. That's how it was. And so I went to the guy at our school and I was like, "Hey, this guy's like not paying me." He's like, "I don't know what to tell you." And I was like, "Okay." But anyway, so you were talking about Craigslist people. It's like the writing is usually on the wall. It's just having the experience to tell that the writing's on the wall. But then there are other factors that come into play.
Yeah.
We got caught into a project a couple years ago where it was destroying us.
Oh, yeah.
It was debilitating. It was backbreaking. We, being businessmen, walk in at a certain point of this project, and we have a real conversation with them about, hey, you're killing us. We agreed to this. We're doing 4 times what was recommended.
Yeah.
We can't continue doing that. Like, this has to change.
And or we have to bow out.
And they fed us back the line. Well, everybody, everyone's working just so hard on this.
It's like, I know. That's what I'm here telling you.
That's why we're talking. Everyone's working so hard on this. This is such a team effort that everyone's doing such a great job, and we really just need people on our team who are in to win, and be a part of this. Mm-hmm. And they're feeding us this
the dream, the Craigslist thing.
And we left that meeting and we were stuck because they'd already paid us a deposit, and we're like, well, we don't want to pay that back because we had invested in equipment.
Yeah.
Which was another lesson that we can talk about in another episode.
Yeah. Should have sold it, got out.
We should have just not worried about the financials, and we should have just gotten out at that point because the writing was on the wall. We could see it, but the money was holding us in.
Right.
And we were afraid to bow out because we didn't want to have to financially take that hit.
Yeah. pin that. We'll have to talk that.
We'll real talk
some
that
of your
for sure.
some of your best decisions are your most expensive decisions.
Well, or just even like don't let money run your business.
Yeah, right.
You run the money.
You run the money. You
right.
run your business. You don't let your money run your business.
But they were talking about us giving more and more.
Yeah,
we were there telling them we're already overworked, and they're asking us to give them more in that
it was
meeting.
Bad.
And so, that was an opportunity where we saw the writing was on the wall, and we were like, we don't know how to. And we really did want to try to make this work, and it just was something that wasn't a good deal for us.
Well, and I think a lot of it is just like, I feel like inherently we like to give. I mean, I know, I took like the love language thing, and like gift giving is like
a giver?
It's both how I give and how I receive. It's like some people have different ones,
right.
but it's like always gifts for me.
Steve likes gifts.
I like, Christmas is coming up.
Boom.
So it's always that inner turmoil of
right.
like, man, do I really want to help this person? And I think it all boils down to what you were talking about earlier, where it's like, is it something where you're like, I believe in what you're doing and I absolutely want to offer my talents?
Right.
Or is it clearly, whether it actually is a physical one or not, this is a Craigslist post. Even if it's someone talking to you, you're like, this is a walking Craigslist post.
And, but even though it's like, I mean, you frame it like Craigslist post, and I understand what you're saying, but I feel like people watching this might not fully get what that means, because it sounds pretty negative. You think like, oh, like strippers or something? Like, it just sounds dark.
Okay, sure.
It just sounds dark when you frame it like a Craigslist posting. It's not. It's somebody who they have a dream and a vision, and they need to figure out how to get as many people on board to help them achieve their goals.
Yeah.
And we're strong proponents in believing that you need to find work that benefits you and is also valuable to the person you're helping.
Right.
If it's ever one-sided, if it is only benefiting you, you need to bow out gracefully.
Yeah, and if it's only benefiting them,
you need to probably bow out less gracefully and get out as fast as you can, because that is in my experience, that is the writing on the walls of a continuing abusive relationship. And when I say abusive, I don't mean physically, but it can be very mental.
Yeah,
it can be very mentally abusive. It can be, it can be physically abusive, not I'm going to punch you and I'm going to call you mean names, but I'm going to make sure you don't sleep. I'm going to make sure that...
and you just become jaded. And
I'm going to make sure your work-life balance suffers. I'm going to make sure your family relationships suffer.
Right.
Because you told me you would do this.
Right.
And now it's your word.
Yeah.
And it's like, you got to, in these situations, and this is kind of digressed. This is digressed from... Let's talk about pro bono giving in a positive, because I don't want this to be necessarily negative.
Sorry.
Yesterday's was kind of a bummer. Today's is
a bummer.
I wanted today's to be a little bit more uplifting, but
real talk. We only talk about the bummerest of bummers.
But let's just continue on this trajectory. Maybe we can do a part 2 to this.
Maybe we should do a part 2 to this.
Yeah.
Just talk about like the good that pro
bono
giving does.
That's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to do. But now we're continuing on. So let's just finish this train of thought.
Okay.
And let's look and let's continue talking about just the negative impact that giving too much of yourself as a creative person can have. And I think ultimately it does come down to what we've talked about here. When you're creating anything, that takes up your creative space in your mind. You were created as a creative to create, so you are innately called to do that.
Yeah.
When you're doing 100% of output for someone else's creative vision, you now feel like a robot.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it. We call it button pushers, right?
Yeah.
We work on projects where, you're just in there, you're button pushing. Yes. It's cool because you're making the bills, hopefully. And if you're making the bills, honestly, we're in business. So that's why that's okay. We can sit there and be like, you know what? Boom. It's making the bills.
Yeah.
But even in those moments, we still find ourselves saying, yeah, but how can we still let this be representative of what we're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what and we could talk about it more tomorrow. But when you talked about pro bono giving, I don't think that always just means the whole project is free. Sometimes it means like you are getting paid, but you're like, you know what? What I want to do to this piece is absolutely out of scope, but I don't care because it's going to make it dope and they're going to love it. You know, and
we just got finished doing a big project, huge. The budget was not in scope with what we delivered.
No.
It was a green screen project, where we created an entire 3D space.
Yeah.
And we put their character, and why we did that is the brand that we're working with, they're relatively new, and they wanted something a little bit more abstract and not.
Yeah.
And what we did is we created this whole office space, and when we got done, we were like, why didn't we just shoot on location?
Shoot it.
What are we doing here? Like, it was so confusing to us because we're like, this looks real. Mm-hmm. It looks like we're on location, and we would have gotten a better result had we filmed on location. Yeah. And so we went back to the owner, and we said, well, hey, can we make this a little more stylized to match your brand? And he loved the idea, and we did it, and it looks great. And it looks way better. Totally justified why we filmed it in studio, in front of a green screen, and created this whole 3D office.
Right.
So, but that was a situation that we went way above beyond scope.
Because we wanted to. I mean, we wanted to make it the best piece it could be because it's a cool brand.
Right.
It was a funny idea.
Right.
And
well, and we like the relationship, and we want to see the relationship grow.
Yeah.
And that is one of the big determining factors of, do we like working with you? Are you, not just working with you, are you a great person that we like? Do we want to build a stronger relationship with you?
Yeah.
And that really goes into a lot of our determinations of, do we want to help you create your vision, using our skills and our talents?
Well, because the way that we like to work with people is much more relational, less transactional.
For sure. That's a great way to say that.
Anyways, we are going over on time. So join us tomorrow for part 2 of giving, where we'll actually talk about what we wanted to talk about today and stay a little more positive.
Try to.
Thanks for joining us.
See ya.
See you tomorrow.